Walk through the streets of Tokyo and you'll witness something extraordinary. Millionaires everywhere, blending seamlessly into the crowd. No Lamborghini screaming down the boulevard. No designer logos plastered across every surface. No Instagram stories flaunting vacation homes. Just quiet, deliberate wealth building that spans generations. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, a different story unfolds. Americans earning decent incomes, working themselves to exhaustion, yet somehow always broke. The paycheck arrives Friday, and by Sunday, it's already spoken for. Credit cards maxed, subscriptions forgotten, and stress levels through the roof. Here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. Japan has more millionaires per capita than almost any country on Earth. But you'd never know it by looking. While Western culture celebrates flashy displays of wealth, Japanese culture perfects the art of invisible prosperity. Same planet, completely different approaches, wildly different results. The most remarkable part? These aren't secrets locked away in some ancient vault. They're simple daily habits anyone can start implementing today. No luck required, no inheritance needed, no stress involved. Just 9 practices that help Japan rebuild from literal ashes into an economic powerhouse. What I'm about to share completely transformed how I think about money. And if you're exhausted by the loud broke lifestyle that social media glorifies, these habits will open your eyes to a better path. But wait, before we dive into the first habit, understand this. Awareness precedes transformation. You cannot fix what you cannot see. And what most people can't see is where their money actually goes. Habit 1. Kakeibo, the Mindful Money Journal. Let me ask you something brutally honest. Where did your last paycheck go? If you're like most people, your answer is probably, I don't know, it just disappeared. Subscriptions you forgot about. Impulse purchases that seemed small at the time. DoorDash orders that somehow add up to more than your monthly rent. The money vanishes into a black hole, and you're left wondering why you're always broke. Enter Kakeibo, a household financial ledger that's been around since 1904. The concept is deceptively simple. Write down every single expense by hand. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. There's an app for that. But here's where it gets crazy. There's something about the physical act of writing that creates a psychological shift. When your hand moves across paper, recording that $6 latte or that $30 impulse Amazon purchase, your brain processes it differently than tapping a screen. Studies show people who manually track expenses spend 15 to 20% less automatically. Not because they're restricting themselves with some punishing budget, because they're finally aware. The ancient wisdom holds true. The palest ink is better than the best memory. When you write it, you see it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when transformation begins. Kakeibo organizes expenses into 4 simple categories. Survival expenses like rent, utilities, and groceries. Optional expenses like streaming services you haven't used in 6 months. Culture expenses like books, experiences, and education. And extra expenses, which is basically the why did I buy this category. The practice asks 4 fundamental questions. How much money do I have? How much do I want to save? How much am I spending? And here's the powerful one. How can I improve? Not how can I be perfect. Not how can I punish myself into submission. Just how can I improve? That's the entire game. Here's where it gets real. A woman I know spent years in the where did my money go cycle. First month of Kakeibo, she discovered $400 going to subscriptions she completely forgot about. $200 on apps and digital purchases she didn't even remember downloading. Another $300 on impulse coffee runs and lunches. She didn't cancel everything immediately. She just became aware. 6 months later, $4,000 saved without feeling deprived. 1 year later, $10,000 emergency fund sitting in her account. Same income, different awareness. Tonight, buy a small notebook. Not fancy, just functional. For the next 30 days, write down every single purchase. The morning coffee, the parking fee, the random 2 a.m. Amazon order. Categorize it into those 4 buckets. Review it weekly. Awareness is the first step to wealth. But seeing where money goes is only step 1. But wait, what about stopping the leak that most people don't even notice? Habit 2. Mottainai, the art of no waste. Americans waste 30 to 40% of the food they buy. Let that sink in for a moment. You're working hard for your money, buying groceries, and throwing nearly half of it directly into the trash. That's not a food problem, that's a wealth problem. Then there's the clothing cycle. Wear something once or twice. Decide it's not quite right. Donate it or trash it. Something breaks, and your immediate thought is, it's cheap, I'll just buy new. This disposable mentality is a wealth leak nobody talks about because it's so normalized. The Japanese have a word for this. Mottainai. There's no perfect English translation, but it captures regret over waste and deep respect for resources. It's not just environmental consciousness, it's profoundly financial. Every grain of rice matters. Every item has inherent worth. Wasting something disrespects both the resource and the money you worked for. This philosophy comes from Buddhist teachings. Everything has value. When you waste something, you're not just throwing away an item. You're throwing away the money you worked for, the resources that created it, and the potential use it still had. Here's the math people don't do. That $5 meal you didn't eat? $5 burned. That $50 shirt worn once? $50 wasted. Add up your monthly waste across food, clothes, and items replaced instead of repaired. For most people, it's hundreds of dollars monthly, literally in the trash. The Japanese approach is elegantly simple. Buy quality, use completely. One good item used 100 times beats 10 cheap items used once each. Maintenance over replacement. Creativity and repurposing. Here's where it gets interesting. A guy I know cleaned out his garage and found $2,000 worth of tools he bought and never used. The closet revealed $3,000 in clothes with tags still attached. Kitchen gadgets still in their original packaging. Total waste. Over $8,000 in purchased items never used. He started practicing Mottainai with 2 simple rules. Only buy after a 30-day waiting period. Use items completely before buying more. 1 year later, he saved $6,000 just from not buying things he'd waste. Previous waste became future wealth. This week, before buying anything, ask, will I use this completely? Before throwing anything away, ask, can this be repaired, repurposed, or donated? For food, meal plan and actually eat what you buy. For clothes, wear what you own at least 30 times before buying new. For broken items, repair first, replace last. Calculate your monthly waste right now. Food you threw away. Purchases sitting unused. Items you replaced that could have been fixed. That number? That's your wealth leak. Plug it and watch your wealth grow. Wealth isn't just what you earn. It's what you keep and use fully. Waste is theft from your future self. But here's something you need to pay attention to. Avoiding waste saves money, but this next habit actually creates money through tiny daily actions you won't even notice. Habit 3. Kaizen. Small daily improvements. Americans get this completely wrong. We want overnight success. The dramatic transformation. The complete life overhaul starting Monday. Monday arrives, we try to do everything at once, burn out by Wednesday, and we're back to old habits by Friday. Sound familiar? The Japanese have a different approach. Kaizen. Continuous small improvement. This isn't some trendy self-help concept invented last year. This is the philosophy that made Toyota the world's most valuable car company. This is how post-World War II Japan rebuilt an entire economy from literal rubble. Not with massive dramatic changes, but with tiny improvements. Daily. Forever. Here's the math that'll blow your mind. If you improve by just 1% every single day, you're not just 1% better at year's end. You're 37 times better. Compound improvement works like compound interest. But here's the flip side that should scare you. If you get 1% worse daily, you're nearly at 0 by year's end. Small changes aren't small at all. They're everything. Applied to money, Kaizen is ridiculously simple. Save $5 more today than yesterday. Cut 1 unnecessary subscription this week. Increase your income by a tiny amount monthly. Automate 1 financial task. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, not temporary. Just sustainable, tiny improvements. Start with week 1. Save $10 automatically. Not 100, not 50, just 10. Week 2, make it 15. Week 3, 20. Increase $5 weekly until it becomes completely normal. Here's where the magic happens. One tiny habit example, make coffee at home instead of buying it. $5 daily times 365 days equals 1,825 yearly. Invest that at 8% for 20 years and you've got $91,000. One tiny change equals 6 figures. Tell me small changes don't matter. A woman I know couldn't save money because the amounts felt meaningless. She tried to save $500 monthly, failed, and gave up completely. Started Kaizen with $1 daily. Week 1, she had $7 saved and thought, that's nothing. But she kept going. Month 1, $30 saved. Month 6, built up to $10 daily. Year 1, $2,500 saved. Year 2, increased to $15 on daily. 5 years later, $35,000 emergency fund, started with a single dollar. Kaizen compounded that tiny beginning into financial security. Tiny changes sustained beat. Massive changes abandoned every single time. Progress isn't perfection. Better beats perfect. Start small, stay consistent, watch it compound. But wait, that's just the mechanics of improvement. What actually drives those improvements? Because without purpose behind the actions, nothing sticks. Habit 4. Ikigai. Purpose-driven work. Let's talk about why Americans are broke despite working 40+ hours weekly. Most people work jobs they absolutely hate just for the paycheck. No fulfillment, high stress, counting down to Friday starting Monday morning, then spending all weekend dreading Monday. That's not living. That's slow death with a 401k. Here's the kicker. When you hate your work, you spend money to cope. Retail therapy after a bad day. Expensive vacations to escape your life. Stress eating because work is crushing you. Going out constantly because home reminds you that tomorrow is Monday. The golden handcuffs get tighter and tighter. You can't leave because your lifestyle requires the income. You're trapped in a well-paid prison. The Japanese have this concept called Ikigai, your reason for being. It's the intersection of 4 things. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. When all 4 overlap, that's your Ikigai. That's why you get up in the morning. In Okinawa, one of the world's blue zones where people regularly live past 100, they don't even have a word for retirement. You don't retire from your Ikigai. You do it until you die, happily. Here's what's crazy. Studies show people with purpose spend way less on coping mechanisms. When you love Monday, you don't need retail therapy to survive it. Let me paint 2 pictures. Wrong path. High-paying job you hate, earn well, but hate Monday through Friday. Spend money to cope with stress. Never have enough to quit because lifestyle matches income. Trapped in a well-paid prison. Right path. Aligned work. Maybe earn less initially, but love the work. Don't need to cope spend because there's nothing to cope with. Lower stress means less stress spending. Build wealth from satisfaction, not consumption. Find your Ikigai by asking, what do I love doing? What am I naturally good at? What does the world actually need? What can pay me? The overlap is your answer. A guy I know made $80,000 in corporate and hated every second. Retail therapy every weekend. $500+ monthly. Vacations to escape. $5,000 yearly. Stress eating. Another $300 monthly. Total coping costs. Over $11,000 yearly. He found his Ikigai teaching part-time. Made $45,000 first year. Coping spending dropped to nearly 0. Lived happier on way less. Year 3. Making $60,000 doing what he loved. Saving $15,000 yearly. Previous life. Made $80,000. Saved nothing. Miserable daily. Purpose reduces spending naturally. When you love Monday, you don't need to medicate the pain with purchases. Fulfillment is cheaper than coping. But here's something unusual. Purpose-driven work reduces stress and spending, but Japanese philosophy goes even deeper into finding beauty in what you already have. Habit 5. Wabi Sabi. Embracing imperfection. Social media has done something devastating to us. We scroll through perfectly curated lives, perfect houses, perfect cars, perfect everything. Then we look at our own lives and think, not good enough. So what do? Endless renovations. Upgrading cars that run perfectly fine. Replacing furniture that's still functional. Chasing Instagram-worthy perfection that doesn't even exist in real life. The Japanese have a completely opposite philosophy. Wabi Sabi. Finding beauty in imperfection. Aged wood has character. Cracked pottery tells a story. Simple, imperfect, incomplete. That's where real beauty lives. It comes from Zen Buddhism and traditional tea ceremonies, where a simple, slightly imperfect bowl is considered more valuable than an ornate, perfect one. Applied to your stuff, this is a game changer. You don't need a perfect house. You don't need the newest car. You don't need a flawless wardrobe. What you have is enough. That scratch on your table isn't a flaw. It's character. That older car isn't an embarrassment. It's a reliable friend with history. That simple house isn't inadequate. It's enough. Here's the contrast that matters. American mindset says your house must be perfect, so you're constantly renovating. Wabi Sabi says your house has character, no renovation needed. American culture says your car must be new and flawless, so you're always upgrading. Wabi Sabi says your older car has charm, keep driving it. See the difference? One bleeds money constantly. The other builds wealth naturally. Look at what you already have through a Wabi Sabi lens. That scratch on the table? It's from your kid's homework. That's a memory, not a defect. That faded paint? It shows your house is lived in and loved. That older car? It's proven reliable, that's valuable. Stop upgrading things that don't need upgrading. A couple I know spent $30,000 on a kitchen renovation because theirs was outdated. Finished it, looked at their neighbor's new kitchen, felt outdated again. Spent another $15,000 on updates. Still not satisfied. Total burned. $45,000. Then they discovered Wabi Sabi. Our kitchen works perfectly. The wear shows it's lived in. The imperfection is character. Stopped renovating completely. That $45,000 invested would be $120,000 in 20 years. They chose acceptance over perfection. Built wealth instead of chasing impossible standards. Perfection is expensive. Contentment is wealth. The pursuit of flawless is the enemy of financial freedom. What you have is enough. Find the beauty there. Stop spending there. But wait, here's where it gets crazy. Accepting enough stops the bleeding. But there's a Japanese health habit that accidentally builds wealth while making you healthier. Habit 6. Hara Hachi Bu, the 80% rule. Let's talk about American portion sizes. They're absolutely ridiculous. We eat until we're stuffed, uncomfortable, unbuttoning pants at the table. We consume everything in front of us because I paid for it. Meanwhile, we're spending a fortune on food, feeling terrible, and creating health problems that cost even more money. It's expensive in multiple ways. The people of Okinawa, the longest-lived people on Earth, have this practice called Hara Hachi Bu. It means eat until 80% full. You stop before you're completely stuffed, just comfortably satisfied. Not still hungry, not uncomfortably full, just enough. Science backs this up. Eating to 80% naturally reduces food costs by 20%. Better health means lower medical bills down the road. Less consumption means less spending. Living longer means you compound wealth for more years. It's a financial win across the board. But here's where it gets really interesting. You can apply this 80% rule to everything, not just food. You don't need 100% of your wants satisfied. 80% satisfaction equals 100% enough. And that 20% gap between what you want and what you actually need. That's where wealth lives. Financial Hara Hachi Bu looks like this. Don't spend your entire paycheck. Leave 20% untouched. It creates automatic wealth building without feeling deprived. Live on 80%, save 20%. You're still satisfying most wants. You're just not chasing that last 20% that costs the most and delivers the least. Practice the 80% rule everywhere. Eat smaller portions, save 20% on food costs. Spend maximum 80% of your income. Buy 80% of what you think you need. Realize the other 20% was just wants disguised as needs. Stop at 80% satisfied and fight the urge to hit 100%. That 20% gap compounds fast. A man I know ate out until completely stuffed every meal. Felt terrible, spent $800 monthly. Started Hara Hachi Bu, stopped at 80% full, ordered less food. Better physically, restaurant bill dropped to $500 monthly. Saved $3,600 yearly just from eating less. Plus he lost 30 pounds. Medical costs dropped $2,000 annually. Total savings, $5,600 plus better health plus more energy, got him a promotion. One habit created multiple compounding benefits. Enough is enough. The last 20% costs the most and delivers the least. Stop at 80% in everything. That gap is where wealth, health, and happiness actually live. Here's where most people fail. Consuming less creates wealth. But what about maintaining what you already have? That's the next level most people never reach. Let's be brutally honest about American culture. We want everything right now. Instant gratification is our default setting. Treat yourself has become a legitimate financial strategy. Can't delay pleasure even 5 minutes. Buy now. Pay later is everywhere. Amazon same-day delivery. Zero tolerance for any discomfort whatsoever. The Japanese have this concept called Gaman. It means enduring difficulty with patience and dignity, not suffering, persevering. The ability to sit with discomfort without immediately medicating it with a purchase. And this trait is literally the difference between wealth and poverty. After World War II, Japan was destroyed. Entire cities leveled, economy obliterated. You know how they rebuilt? Pure Gaman. The entire nation practiced collective delayed gratification, saved aggressively, built slowly, persevered through discomfort, became an economic superpower. Remember the Stanford marshmallow experiment? Kids who could wait 15 minutes for 2 marshmallows instead of eating one immediately became more successful adults. More wealth, better health, happier lives. One single trait predicted everything. The ability to wait. That's Gaman. Applied to money, it's simple but powerful. Want something? Wait 30 days. Feeling uncomfortable financially? Sit with it. Don't fix it with spending. Have a desire to buy? Practice Gaman, let it pass. Most desires fade completely if you don't act on them immediately. This is the exact opposite of Amazon's one-click buying, designed to eliminate Gaman entirely. Add stuff to your cart instead of buying. Let it sit there. Review your cart once a month. Delete 90% of it. Gaman just saved you thousands without feeling restricted. Implement the 30-day rule starting today. Before any non-essential purchase, wait 30 days. Add it to a wish list. Sit with the desire without acting. 90% of those desires will completely disappear. The 10% that remain are actually important. Buy them then. The Gaman muscle strengthens over time. First week is difficult. First month gets easier. First year becomes completely natural. And you just save thousands by simply waiting. A woman I know saw something she needed, bought it immediately, repeated daily. Debt grew to $15,000. Discovered Gaman, started the 30-day rule. First month she wanted 20 different things, waited. 30 days later, still wanted 2 things, completely forgot about 18 of them. Bought those 2, saved money on 18 impulse purchases. Kept practicing for a year. Debt gone, savings growing, same income, different discipline. Gaman transformed her entire financial life. The ability to wait is the foundation of wealth. Instant gratification is expensive. Delayed gratification compounds. Discomfort is temporary, debt is permanent. But don't jump to conclusions. Discipline saves money, but what happens when things actually break? The Japanese have a beautiful answer that turns breakage into art. Habit 8. Kintsugi, repair with gold. Americans throw stuff away like it's our job. Something breaks. Hey, it's broken, buy a new one. We're on this replacement treadmill that never stops. Disposable culture isn't just wasteful, it's bleeding you dry financially. But nobody talks about it because buying new is so normalized. The Japanese have this art form called Kintsugi, also known as kintsukuroi. When pottery breaks, instead of throwing it away, they repair it with gold, with actual gold lacquer. The repaired piece becomes more beautiful and more valuable than the original. The philosophy: breakage and repair are part of the object's history, not the end of its usefulness. This applies way beyond pottery. Repair your clothes instead of replacing them. Fix appliances instead of buying new. Maintain your car instead of upgrading. Restoration over replacement. It's not just philosophical, it's massively economical. Here's what kills me. The average American replaces things that still function perfectly. Out of style doesn't mean broken. New model available doesn't mean your old one is dead. Marketing has convinced us to replace ourselves into poverty. Japanese culture says use it until it's truly done. Massive financial difference. Real costs breakdown. Repair jeans, $15. New jeans, $60s. You just saved $45s. Repair appliance, $100. New appliance, $600. Savings, $500. Maintain your car properly, $2,000 over 5 years. Buy new car, $40,000. Savings, $38,000. The math is screaming at you. When something breaks, Google how to repair plus the item. Try DIY first. YouTube has a course on everything. If it's beyond your skill level, get a repair quote before buying new. Usually repair costs 20 to 40% of replacement. Choose repair 90% of the time. Calculate your annual replacement spending. How much did you spend on stuff that could have been repaired? That's leaked wealth. Plug that leak. Build wealth instead. A man's laptop died. $200 for repair or $1 in $200 new one. He thought, it's old anyway. Might as well upgrade. Bought new. 6 months later, needed $300 repair on the new one anyway. Realized he could have repaired the old one twice for the cost of the new. Started practicing kintsugi. Repaired shoes, $40 versus $120 new. Fixed dryer, $100 versus $800 new. Patched jacket, $20 versus $200 new. Year of repairs, $400 spent, would have been $2,000 in replacements. Saved $2,600, same stuff, better wallet, less waste. Repair celebrates history. Replacement chases perfection. History is cheaper and more beautiful. The broken thing repaired has more character than the perfect thing replaced. Wait, the most important part is coming. All these habits work together, but there's one final principle that ties everything together and makes it all sustainable. Habit 9. Shikata ga nai. Acceptance of what cannot be changed. Final habit. And honestly, this might be the most important one. It's called shikata ga nai. It means it cannot be helped. Before you think that sounds defeatist, hear me out. It's not giving up, it's strategic acceptance. Americans stress about everything they can't control. The economy, inflation, other people's success, where we started financially, past mistakes. We carry this weight constantly. And you know what we do with that stress? We spend money trying to feel better. Retail therapy, stress shopping, keeping up with people who don't even care about us. It's exhausting and expensive. Here's the vicious cycle. We stress about things beyond our control. Spend money to cope with the stress, which creates more financial stress, which makes us spend more. Round and round until we're broke and miserable. The Japanese approach is completely different. Accept what you cannot change, say shikata ga nai, it cannot be helped, and release it. Then pour all your energy into what you can actually control. Your habits, your choices, your discipline today. That's where power lives. What you can't control. Where you started financially. Your past mistakes. Other people's advantages. Their inheritance. The economy, inflation rates, market conditions. Your parents' wealth or lack of it. Shikata ga nai, it cannot be helped. Stop wasting energy there. What you can control. Today's spending. Today's savings. Today's habits. Today's choices. Today's discipline. Whether you practice Kakeibo tonight. Whether you stop wasting tomorrow. Whether you implement Kaizen this week. That's your power. Stop comparing yourself to others. Their income? Shikata ga nai. Their inheritance? Shikata ga nai. Their head start? Shikata ga nai. Your discipline? Controllable. Your habits? Controllable. Your future? Completely controllable. Make 2 lists right now. First list. Everything you can't control about your financial situation, past mistakes, others' advantages, economic conditions. Write it all down. Then say, Shikata ga nai, and release every single item. Second list. Everything you can control. Your daily spending, your savings rate, your habits, your choices. Pour all your energy there. A woman stressed constantly about not being where others were financially. Spent all her energy comparing, feeling behind, stress shopping to cope. $600 monthly on stress purchases. Started practicing Shikata ga nai. I can't change my past. I can't control others. I can control today. Stopped comparing completely. Stopped stress shopping. Focused only on daily habits she could control. That $600 monthly redirected to savings. Year 1, $7,200 saved. Year 3, $25,000 in the bank. Same income, different focus. Shikata ga nai freed her from the comparison trap. Money followed naturally. Accept what you cannot change. Control what you can. All wealth is built in that controllable space. Comparison is theft. Stress spending is expensive. Peace with your path is free. The complete picture. Building quiet wealth. Starting today. Here's everything in one breath. 9 Japanese habits that build quiet wealth. Kakeibo makes you aware of every dollar. Kaizen compounds tiny improvements daily. Mottainai eliminates waste you didn't even notice. Ikigai reduces stress spending through purpose. Wabi Sabi brings contentment with what you have. Harahachibu creates that critical 20% gap. Gaman builds the discipline to wait. Kintsugi celebrates repair over replacement. Shikata ga nai focuses energy where it matters. No luck needed. No stress required. Just ancient wisdom applied to modern life. This week, pick one habit, just one. Start ridiculously small. Kakeibo? Buy a notebook tonight. Mottainai? Audit your waste this weekend. Kaizen? Save $1 today. Don't try all 9 at once. That's the American way, and it fails. Master one, add another next month. Japan built wealth from literal ashes using these habits. You don't need a catastrophe to start. You just need one choice today. Choose awareness over ignorance. Discipline over impulse. Contentment over comparison. Quiet wealth isn't loud or flashy. It's patient, disciplined, invisible. Until one day, it's completely undeniable. The richest people don't hide wealth by accident. They hide it on purpose. They understand something fundamental. True wealth whispers while poverty shouts. These 9 habits aren't just about money. They're about building a life of intention, purpose, and peace. Where you're not chasing the next thing because you're content with this thing. Where you're not stressed about money because you're in control of money. Where you're not comparing yourself to others because you're on your own path. Start small today. Stay consistent tomorrow. Watch it compound forever. Your future wealthy self is watching your choices right now. Make them proud. Build quiet wealth. Live intentionally.